You know, life is just packed with choices. But what if I told you that a lot of them, well, they're shaped by these invisible rules, these hidden dilemmas that we all face. They're kind of like the frameworks that guide our decisions, from the little arguments inside our own heads to the huge systems that run the entire world. So let's pull back the curtain on these hidden rules. It's going to be fun.
How'd that feel? A little weird, right? A bit clunky? All of a sudden, something that was totally automatic is now this big, conscious effort. You might even feel like you're not doing it right anymore. Just hold on to that feeling for a second.
And that feeling, that perfectly sums up our first idea, the centipede's dilemma. The story goes that by overthinking which leg to move next, the centipede just forgets how to walk. It's just like us forgetting how to breathe naturally. So today we're going to go on a little journey through these kinds of dilemmas, starting with the ones inside our own minds, then moving to the puzzles we face with other people, and finally looking at the big rules of the game we're all playing.
Okay, first up, let's start with the choices and traps that exist entirely within our own heads. These are the dilemmas that pit you, well, against yourself. So, this is called Morton's Fork, and it comes from this incredibly clever, or maybe sneaky, 15th century tax collector. His logic was brilliant. He argued that if you lived a simple, modest life, you must be saving a ton of money, so you can pay the tax. But if you live this big, extravagant life, then you are obviously rich, and you could definitely pay the tax. See what he did there? It's a classic false choice, a trap where no matter which path you take, you end up in the exact same spot.
All right, a total classic, the Monty Hall problem. Take a second. Your gut instinct, like almost everyone's, is probably telling you it's 50-50 now, right? Your door or the other door. But what if I told you your gut is completely wrong?
The answer, which is super counterintuitive, is that you should always switch. But the real question is why? Well, think about it like this. When you first picked your door, you had a 1 in 3 chance of being right. That means there was a 2 in 3 chance the car was behind one of the other 2 doors. Now, the key is the host knows where the car is. He doesn't open a door randomly. He deliberately opens the door with a goat. So what he's done is taken that entire 2/3 probability from those other 2 doors and concentrated it all onto the one door he left closed. When you switch, you're not flipping a coin, you're actually grabbing that much bigger 2/3 chance to win. Okay, here's a dilemma I'm sure many of us have faced. Do you vote for the person you truly 100% believe in, even if you know they have almost no chance of winning? Or do you vote for the more popular candidate you dislike less, just to make sure the person you really can't stand doesn't win? It's that constant battle between voting with your heart and voting with your head. If too many people follow their heart, they can split the vote and actually help the worst-case candidate get into office. And for our last little internal puzzle, let's get a bit philosophical. The Munchausen trilemma basically argues that it's impossible to truly prove, well, anything. Seriously, any argument you make will eventually fall into one of 3 traps. First, you end up with a circular argument, where you're basically saying it's true because it's true. Or second, you get stuck in infinite regress, where every proof needs another proof, which needs another proof, and it just goes on forever. Or, finally, your entire argument is built on some basic fact that you just have to accept as true without any proof at all.
Okay, so we've been stuck inside our own heads. Let's zoom out a bit. We're now entering the world of dilemmas that pop up when we have to interact with other people. And this, my friends, is where things start to get really complicated.
Back in 1964, a woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked in New York. The famous original version of the story reported that this number, 38, was the number of people who saw or heard the attack happening over about half an hour. 38 different witnesses.
And this is the number of people who picked up the phone and called the police, at least at first. Now, the details of that case have been debated a lot since then, but the story itself became this powerful, chilling symbol for a really strange social phenomenon. How could so many people see something so awful and just do nothing?
The answer is what's called the volunteer's dilemma, or as it's more famously known, the bystander effect. It all comes down to a diffusion of responsibility. Think about it. If you're the only person who sees something bad happen, 100% of the burden to act is on you. But when there are 38 witnesses, it's like each person feels only 1/38 of that responsibility. Everyone just assumes, oh, someone else will handle it. And in the end, nobody does.
This brings us to the hedgehog's dilemma, which is just a perfect metaphor for human relationships. We all crave connection and intimacy, right? We're like hedgehogs trying to huddle together for warmth. But as we get closer, we risk hurting each other with our spines, our flaws, our insecurities, our pasts. So we end up keeping this careful distance, always caught in that tension between our deep need for connection and our fear of getting hurt. And now for probably the most famous dilemma of them all, the prisoner's dilemma. Okay, so two partners in crime, John Blue and John Red, are in separate interrogation rooms. They can't talk to each other. Now look at the options. If they both stay silent, that's the top left box. They each get just 1 year in jail. That is the best possible outcome for them as a team. But put yourself in John Blue's shoes for a second. If Red stays silent, Blue's best move is to betray him and walk free. And if Red betrays him, well, Blue's best move is still to betray Red, so he only gets 2 years instead of 3. No matter what the other guy does, your own self-interest screams, betray.
So that same cold logic, that what's best for the individual can lead to a terrible outcome for the group, that doesn't just apply to 2 people in a jail. It scales way, way up.
And when it does, it's called a social dilemma. Think about something like overfishing. The best thing for all the fishermen, as a group, is for everyone to limit their catch so the fish population can survive for years to come. But the best thing for any one fisherman is to go out and catch as many fish as they possibly can, right now. And when every single person acts in their own rational self-interest, the whole system collapses, and pretty soon there are no fish left for anyone. It's the prisoner's dilemma, but played out on a global scale. So for our final section, let's zoom out one last time. Now we're looking at dilemmas that aren't just between people. They are baked right into the very systems, ethical, economic, and technological, that we all live inside. I'm sure you've heard of this one. A trolley is barreling down the tracks and it's headed straight for 5 people who are tied up. You're standing by a lever. If you pull it, you can switch the trolley to a different track. The catch? There's 1 person tied up on that track. So what do? Do you do nothing and let 5 people die? Or do you take an action that you know will kill 1 person but will save the other 5? There's no clean answer here. It's a brutal choice between inaction and its consequences and direct, hands-on responsibility. And here's the thing. This isn't just a philosophy class thought experiment anymore. It's a literal programming problem for self-driving cars. Engineers have to decide right now what the code should do in an accident you can't avoid. Should the car be programmed to protect its owner at all costs? Or should it be programmed to sacrifice its owner to save, say, a group of 5 pedestrians? I mean, would you buy a car that you knew was programmed to kill you under the right circumstances?
This leads us right to the tragedy of the commons. It's what happens when you have a shared, limited resource that anybody can use. Imagine a big, open pasture that all the herders in a village share. Each herder thinks, hey, what's the harm if I just add 1 more cow to my herd? It's a rational thought. But when every single herder thinks that exact same rational thought, the pasture gets completely overgrazed and destroyed, and then it's useless for everybody. It's a total system failure where a series of logical individual choices leads to collective disaster.
Finally, let's tackle a really complex economic rule. So, for the whole world to do business, it pretty much needs a stable, reliable currency like the US dollar. But for the United States to supply enough dollars for the entire planet to use, it has to spend more money than it brings in. And what's the problem with that? Well, if you keep spending more than you make for too long, people start to lose confidence that your money is actually worth anything. It is a fundamental catch-22. To keep the world economy going today, you have to risk the stability of the very currency it all depends on in the long run.
So, after all of that, why does any of this matter? Well, because understanding these dilemmas, it's like getting a new superpower. It's like putting on a pair of glasses that lets you see the hidden architecture of the world around you. You can start spotting a Morton's fork in an argument or recognizing the bystander effect when you're in a group. And you can understand the tragic but logical reason why big problems are so hard to solve. It helps you see the rules of the game we're all playing. And that really brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with. Think about the choices you make at work, or in your relationships, or even how you engage with society. Take a look at your own life through this new lens. Which invisible trap, which hidden dilemma are you trying to navigate at this very moment? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.